All right, welcome back to the best podcast in the world, also known as Game Dev Getaway. I am Fabian Valander. You're probably watching this on my YouTube channel. If you aren't, check it out. I got some things I want to talk about today. First of all, Metroid Prime got re-released or remastered for the Nintendo Switch. I am gonna buy that when I can afford it. God, that game I've never played it. I have played it when I was like a kid, but I didn't, get into it. But I want to. I want to play it. I've just looked at gameplay videos and, this whole, I was researching Metroidvanias or something. But that's like, obviously I'm a 3D guy. I like doing 3D games, right? I've never actually made a 2D game, and I don't plan on making a 2D game because just 3D appeals to me more. And I've been, interested back in the day in the Metroidvania genre, but since I want to make 3D games, I think there's not that many 3D Metroidvanias that among indie developers. Why did I say it like that? Among indie developers, Metroidvanias are usually 2D. But then again, among indie developers, games are usually 2D, right? Most of them. Is that true? I don't know. It feels like it. But yeah. So I was wanting to do a Metroidvania game, but in 3D. So obviously, the game I looked at to take inspiration from was Metroid Prime. And I don't know, I just really like that game. I was gonna make a game where I copied the visor and everything. I just like, I like the diegetic HUD, right? The in-game HUD. So if your character has a visor, like in Metroid Prime, the HUD has an explanation in games for why there's a HUD. I like that. So that's why that's why I looked at that as well. And also Metroidvania, go back and unlock items and unlock paths that you haven't been on before, blah, blah, blah. I'm really looking forward to playing that for the first time, playing through it for the first time. I did, the Metroid Prime that I've played the most is probably Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, I think it's called, for the Wii. But I played that when I was a kid as well, and I did not make it through the intro level. I never made it through the intro level because I was at the age where I didn't really understand English all that well. So I played the game. If you've played the game, it's like a tutorial stage, right? Where you're on a spaceship of some kind and you just learn to shoot and learn to turn into a ball and roll around. And then once you get past a certain point in the tutorial, it goes like you're attacked by this alien crew or whatever. And then to get back to your ship, there's like a mini boss battle. And you have to defeat this boss guy, which has like glowing things on his back or something. And I guess you're supposed to shoot those things, and it comes up like text on the screen, like shoot him on the glowing things, wait for his attack, and then shoot him when he's vulnerable. But I couldn't read that, so I tried to shoot him in the face and shoot him on the body, and he didn't take any damage. And I was like, why? What's going on? Why is he not taking any damage? And I never figured it out. So I rebooted the game, and then every time I played the game, I just stayed in the tutorial level and never went past that certain checkpoint where you're attacked. So I just walked around making up role plays in my head and just pretended that I was, talking to people and playing the game. And then I went back into my ship, and it had the Wii controls, right? I think this was the first Metroid Prime for Wii. Maybe, I might be wrong, but you could like move your hands with the motion controls. So when you sat in your ship, you could like move your hand around and press buttons in the ship to, close the blinds and open the blinds and stuff. So I sat in my ship, I closed the blinds, I opened the blinds, I brought up the space map that didn't tell me anything because I never left the space station, and I closed it again, and I just pretended to do things in the ship, and then I went out of the ship and pretended to talk to people and just made up my own roleplay in this tutorial level that I could not leave because I could not defeat the first mini boss. But I liked it. I played it like an hour at a time. Several times I booted up the game and I was like, let's walk around and pretend to sit in my spaceship and do important stuff. But I didn't know what I was doing, you know? So that's my experience with the Metroid Prime series. And I've never played a Metroid game that's 2D. So, or 2.5D, whatever. None of that. So I'm looking forward to trying that. Apparently they're going to remaster Metroid Prime 2 and 3 as well, or more like port them because they didn't really need a remaster. So I read something like that, like the other Metroid Prime games are also coming. But yeah, I'm very excited about Metroid Prime. I am going to dig into that when I have the means to. So and also Metroid Prime is apparently the best rated game of 2023 with a score of 95 on Metacritic. So that's cool. That's, promising, basically. In other news, I just found out about this Winnie the Pooh slasher movie that came out since Winnie the Pooh became public domain last January in 2022. There was a slasher horror film made of Winnie the Pooh. Looks interesting. It's indie. I think it's independent film, but it's really cool that they're doing these things. You know what else is public domain now? Sherlock Holmes, I think, from this January or this year, 2023, Sherlock Holmes is public domain. So you never know. Should I make a game? Winnie the Pooh game? Sherlock Holmes game? I think a lot of people are going to be making Sherlock Holmes themed games. All these escape room things. It's going to be Sherlock Holmes everywhere. Winnie the Pooh, though, maybe I should break into the kids game market, Winnie the Pooh. I used to play a Winnie the Pooh game when I was a kid. I just remembered one of the first PC games I played, because when I was a kid, we had PlayStation 2, we had Xbox and GameCube, but we didn't have a PC at home. I don't think we did, at least not when I was a kid. We didn't have a PC at home. So my grandmother had a PC, one of those big white thick CRT monitor PCs, like with Windows XP on it or Windows Vista. One of those, XP or Vista, I don't remember. But so every time I went to my grandmother's house, I was like, can I play PC? And she was like, yeah, of course. And so she had Winnie the Pooh game, and she had like some educational game about the human body. But the Winnie the Pooh game I played a lot, and it was just, it was not, I thought it was a good game at the time, but it was not like impressive. It wasn't 3D or anything. It was like click on the different Winnie the Pooh characters, and then you can play musical instruments with them and stuff. It was fun. To me, it was fun, and it's really nostalgic when I see any clips from it. I think it's really hard to find clips from it, but when I see that today, man, my body just fills with nostalgia, because that was like the first podcast or the first PC game I ever played. Yeah, but that was like, I don't know how I got into this. Yeah, the public domain thing. First PC game I ever played, Winnie the Pooh. Maybe I should make something in honor of that, I think. Could be fun, maybe. I have a lot on my plate right now with the RPG and stuff, which is moving along nicely. I'm focusing on having like really clean, sexy code. I think only programmers think of code in that way, but it can be, when it's really clean and clear cut and just beautiful. I'm taking like Godot 4, which is the game engine I'm using, Godot 4. I'm taking tutorials for movement in Godot 4, and then I take that code, I understand it, and then I make it my own, and then I simplify it. Because no offense to the people making movement tutorials, I think I can simplify things even more than the most simple tutorial. And I am. And that's great. It's moving along nicely. Check the Patreon if you're interested in more constant updates on that game. Obviously, it's a little bit slow in the beginning, just making sure all the systems work and stuff, but it's gonna be great. And yeah, I'm actually this weekend. Well, this is a weird situation since you're probably listening to this after the weekend. But this weekend, that's already happened for you, unless you're a Patreon and listen to this beforehand. I'm gonna, join TriJam. TriJam is a game jam. A game jam is a competition for game developers where you make a game within a set amount of time. TriJam is a weekly game jam where you make a game in 3 hours. Now you can plan the game and plan everything and, make assets or use assets that are made outside of these 3 hours, but the development time of the game itself, that should be within these 3 hours. So I'm thinking I'm gonna stream on Saturday, this past Saturday for you. Gonna stream TriJam, stream when I'm making the TriJam game thing. That's gonna be nice. It looks like the theme is gonna be run towards the danger. And out of the themes you could vote for, that was like the least the least interesting and the most clear-cut what they want, The other ones were a little more, abstract, like that's not a yes or something like that. And, obviously the theme that usually wins is the most boring and obvious theme where, you get ideas right away. I would like a theme that I didn't like. I looked at the theme and I was like, man, I have no ideas. That's the kind of theme I want because that's what brings out interesting games, right? But now it's a basic theme, no offense. Run towards the danger. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a zombie game with assets. I'm not gonna make my own stuff. I'm gonna use Kenny assets or something. And a zombie game like Dead Rising style, like open world, a lot of zombies, and you're just gonna kill them all, but run towards the danger, right? Run towards the zombies. And then I was inspired by Carmageddon, the old game where you run over people initially, but then they changed it to zombies because running over people was kind of, cruel. So I changed. No, I didn't change. I took inspiration from that, and I'm gonna make you run around. You have a pair of legs, but your upper body is a car, and then you're just gonna run into the zombies, and they're gonna ragdoll around, and you're gonna get points. It's gonna be like an arcade type of game. Get points for running into the zombies. That's what I plan to do, right? And 3 hours to develop the game, a 3-hour stream, it fits perfectly. 3 hours is like the perfect amount of time for a stream, if you ask me. That's usually the threshold where I'm like, okay, I want to turn this off right now. I want to go do something else. I can't be focused on one thing for more than 3 hours without being bored, So if you're listening to this not on Patreon, that stream is probably up on my YouTube channel right now, and you can watch it if you didn't catch it live. Yeah, that's the plan right now for this week. Not a lot of gaming news. I don't think. I would like to cover some news here, but it's all Hogwarts Legacy and Metroid Prime. Sherlock is not news. That's just something that I thought of since it's public domain. But yeah, there's always some I've seen. What bothers me as an indie game developer is all these gamers looking at Hi-Fi Rush and look at this game. They just dropped it out of nowhere and everybody knows about it now and it did very well. That's because it's a good game. they just made a damn good game, and that's why it's getting the success it deserves right now. Like, you know, I get agitated, right? I get angry. Like, you don't know how many games are like that don't blow up, right? Gamers see one game blow up without marketing, and they're like, see, that's what happens when you don't market and you have a good game. That's what happens every time. That's all it takes. No, that's not all it takes. Come on. That's, that is not all it takes. It's a lot of hidden gems everywhere. I mean, look at Among Us. Didn't that like blow up 2 years after its release? Games are just hidden. They're mostly hidden. Even great games are hidden if they don't market themselves. But because of Hi-Fi Rush, a lot of gamers are saying, this is an example of if you have a good game, it will market itself, which is most of the time not true. You know what I saw also on Twitter? That's where I'm getting these topics from every week. I just look at Twitter and then I figure out what to talk about. It's really hard to figure out what to talk about on this podcast when you're alone making a podcast by yourself in your room. It's like, I'm not the type of person that talks a lot, so this is like exhausting for me. No, but I saw this Mech-Termination game, which is basically like a 2D or 2.5D arcadey version of Shadow of the Colossus, is how I'd like to describe it. It looks like, well, it's mechs, which is in kind of Toon style. So it looks like big transformers and you're climbing on them and to destroy them. Basically Shadow of the Colossus, but casual multiplayer 2.5D. Looks great. Looks, awesome. Actually, that's another game that like flew under the radar, because now it was released probably a year ago or more, and now it's gaining traction because the creator of the game put out a tweet about it like, hey, I made this game a year ago, and it's gaining traction now because of marketing, right? That's another game that, great game, but gained traction now from marketing, just like Among Us gained traction years after it was released. So just another example, that game, I might get that game. That game looks good, I really like Shadow of the Colossus. Obviously it's, epic. But that game looks good. It makes me think of Transformers. I like Transformers. I used to watch Transformers every day. Maybe not every day, but often when I was a kid. I went to Toys R Us, I bought the Transformers. My favorite Transformers show, saga or whatever, was Transformers Armada. That was the shit. And they released a video game for it as well. Transformers, it was called. But it was based on Transformers Armada. But I think it's just called Transformers, like 2004. You can, if you want to Google Transformers 2004. I think that's when it was released. It's a great game. It's epic. It's like, I love, you find these weapons or the mini-cons that turn into weapons, and you can choose your weapon loadout and you can choose what character you play as. And there's an overarching story, and there's this big boss called Tidal Wave, which is like you're on this this huge boat. You're on this huge boat, and then you're like defeating all the enemies on the huge boat, and then at the end, when you've defeated all the enemies on the huge boat, the boat itself that you've been playing on transforms into a huge Decepticon robot, right? And it's like walking out in the ocean, and you're like on this island shooting at it, and it's like shooting missiles at you and stuff. Epic boss fight. Great, Tidal Wave. It's, man, that game is awesome. And you can you get this freedom of choosing your weapons. You can have like 4 different minicons attached at all times. Two of them are like not weapons, whatever. Well, I forgot the word for it, but 2 of them are not weapons, just helpful things like a jetpack or a shield, and 2 of them are weapons. So you have your primary and secondary weapon, usually 1 blaster and 1 missile launcher. Oh man, I just love that game. Obviously I don't, or not obviously, but I don't have a PlayStation 2 anymore. If I did, I would play that game a lot. I mean, I think I could emulate it if I really wanted to, but I think I've tried to emulate it. And, you know, all those emulation settings and stuff, it fucks me up. I don't know what I'm doing. You know, there's so many settings and then the graphics are messed up, and then I try to fix it by fixing settings and I Google around. I don't understand it. And I can never get my emulated games to work properly. I tried emulating Ratchet & Clank 2 as well, one of my favorite games of all time. Ratchet & Clank 2, Going Commando. But the game speed, it fluctuates. You know, it fluctuates really weirdly, so it's unplayable. It's completely unplayable when I emulate it. You know, and you can hear, like, oh man. Ratchet & Clank 1, that game I can emulate perfectly. But Ratchet & Clank 2, the game speed fluctuates. Like, you can hear the background music like fluctuate, and everything just, it goes fast and then slower and then faster and then slower, and it's, you know, it throws me off completely. Yeah, I wish I could emulate games properly. I wish I knew more about that, to know how to fix those things. I would play the shit out of Ratchet & Clank 2, 1, 2, and 3. Jak and Daxter. Isn't there some big PC port thing that's fan made of Jak and Daxter 1? The Precursor Legacy? I think there is, so it runs smoothly on PC, but my favorite is Jak and Daxter 2. That was like GTA, but, you know, Ratchet and Clank. That's what it was in my head. I liked Ratchet and Clank, and then I played Jak and Daxter, and I was like, wow, this is like Ratchet and Clank and GTA together. That's what it felt like. Weapons, I have long ears and I can steal vehicles. GTA with Ratchet and Clank. I liked Jak 2 the most out of the Jak things. Jak 3 I played as well. I liked that as well. Jak 1 is more of a collectathon. So it's the vibe is very different in Jak 1, I think, compared to 2 and 3. And that's why I don't even think I played Jak 1, but I just feel like I'm not going to enjoy it as much because I grew up on these shooter platformers like Ratchet and Clank and Jak 2. So I think that's what I lean towards, you know. Shooter with platforming, not just platforming and collecting. I'd rather shoot something and have, you know, interesting weapons. Jak and Daxter doesn't have that many interesting weapons. Ratchet and Clank is like, interesting weapons is the bread and butter of the entire series. That's like the whole point of the games, to have weird, interesting weapons that's fun to play around with. And that's what I liked about the Transformers 2004 game as well. Interesting weapons. You could choose your loadout, and you can like go off the beaten path and go into the forest and then find a minicon, like, oh, they like shone, I don't know. A big bright light, and you found it, and it was like big reveal, and it's like, yeah, it's this, do you want to equip it right now? And you equipped it, and it was like a Tesla arc, like zzz. Man, I like that a lot. I want to make a game. I just want to mash all of my favorite games into one. That's hard, and it's, you know, it's not really doable. Maybe it is doable. I really want to do that. I want to make a game where I mash Metroid Prime with Transformers 2004 and Ratchet and Clank. Interesting weapons, a heads-up display that's in-game, like a visor, and just everything in one thing. That's what I would like to do. Someday I'm gonna make my magnum opus, the most epic super mashup game that I could come up with. And I'm gonna release it. But that's not today. Right now I'm working on an RPG. I love that as well. I love the Elder Scrolls series, so this is fun as well, making an RPG. But yeah, I'm thinking of making some I'm thinking about a lot of things. I am thinking about a lot of things. I need to get better at planning so I can actually execute on my ideas. I want this RPG to be out this spring, which is going to be difficult, I think, because I'm working on it like 2 days a week. 2 days a week. 16 hours a week I'm working on this RPG. How will I ever release it? Well, we will find out. Because I'm kind of prioritizing YouTube. So yes, I'm working on the RPG, but I want to gain traction and, gain more followers and whatever on YouTube. So I want to have one video out per week and one podcast out per week, and then stream a little bit from time to time. Man, I'm doing a lot of things. I just need to become successful ASAP. That's my goal. Obviously, I'm trying to take this serious, and I don't know what the right path is right now. Should I focus on the RPG? Make a great game. It feels like I got a lot of, I'm juggling a lot of things right now. And if I want to make things good, I should juggle less things at once. But I don't want to. I don't want to juggle less things. I want to make all of this. I want to make all of it work. But it's a challenge. Today I'm going to edit this podcast. It doesn't need much editing. But I'm going to edit it and I'm going to upload it, and then I'm going to finish editing my video that I'm going to release this week. That if you're listening to this not on Patreon, that video is already going to be released, I hope, because it's a lot of video. I made a video about my abandoned projects. I'm reacting to my abandoned projects, and the video file is like 40-50 minutes long. So yeah, that's gonna take a while to edit, because I want to make a fun edit, not just a boring edit. So it's gonna take a while, and I need to work really hard today if I want to have it done today. And I do want to have it done today, because if it's not done today, I'm not gonna be able to release it this week. Oh man, I got stuff to do. Needless to say, I got stuff I need to do. This is how much I have on my plate right now. I want to make an RPG. I only have 16 hours a week to do it, because the other hours are, spent on other things that are equally important to me, like my YouTube mainly, and then my side hustle or side job to just get money. That's where the priority or the main chunk of money that I have come from. Not YouTube, not game dev. I want to flip that, and I'm working towards that. I don't know if I should go all out on this game and like slow down on the YouTube videos to, just pump out this game sooner, or if I should keep going with the weekly YouTube videos and weekly podcast, and then the game becomes made. But 16 hours a week, 16 active work hours a week at most, probably less than that, because I eat lunch and I take breaks or whatever. Oh man, I'm gonna release this RPG. That's my main goal. Release it on Steam. I gotta get some hype for that, Excuse me. Just took a sip of water. Man. This RPG, I've updated my Patreon, the Patreon tiers. to like make room. I've updated, so, you know, extra podcast is one tier. Then you can go up to get mini devlogs from each and every day I work on the RPG. And then you can go up to a tester, you know, QA tester, beta tester, whatever, of the RPG, because I'm gonna be posting bi-weekly builds. Every other week I'm gonna be posting a build of the game that's ready to be played and tested, so people can report bugs, or people can just try the game. Obviously that's not gonna be as interesting now in the early weeks, because it's like, here you go, here's a build, and it's like cubes and gray boxed areas. Just, you know, you're a capsule running around in a cube world, everything's white or gray. It's going to be boring to play in the beginning while I'm getting all the systems done. But eventually, I'm thinking of approaching it just like Mrs. the YouTuber, approached his Rot Flesh. You know, I was subscribed to his Patreon back when he was doing, back when it wasn't even called Rot Flesh, the game. It was called Thouest Thee, I think. Stupid name. I thank God he changed it. But yeah, I was on his Patreon trying the game, but you know, very inspired by the lore part and the, you know, everything about the game except for the gameplay. Not because it's bad, but because it's got like similar gameplay. I've talked about this on the podcast before. I think I talked about it in the first episode. Similar gameplay to Cruelty Squad, and I just can't get into the speedy zoom around boomer shooter thing. That's not interesting to me. I like to take it slow and steady. When I play Fallout 4, guess what I play as? I play as a sniper. When I play Skyrim, you know what I am? I'm a silent assassin. You know, just chill, take it nice and slow, and just critical hit. That's how I like to play the game. When I play Borderlands 2, I pick 0. Sometimes. I actually if I pick between characters, either I pick, you know, the high damage sneaky character, you know, so you can really like bam, critical hit stuff, or one thing that's also fun, I think, when it's a game with a lot of enemies, is the crowd control character. So Maya in Borderlands 2, where you can like suck in all the enemies and just, you know, crowd control. That's nice. I like that area of effect stuff, area of effect spells and abilities. I like that. But if that's not available, or if I'm feeling some type of way, I'm gonna play Sneaky Assassin, and I think a lot of people like that. I think that's like the most popular game way to play. Like, what am I trying to say? The most popular Skyrim build, Sneaky Assassin, right? It's a whole meme. Like, you start off, I'm gonna make a warrior or a mage, and then you end up with a bow and arrow. And that's one of the things I want to tackle in my RPG as well, to make it more like Skyrim, where in old school RPGs you chose your build from day one. Like when you create your character, you're like, this character's a barbarian, and then all of your skills are like towards barbarian. But then maybe you play the game, maybe it's the first time you play the game and you realize that, wow, this is barbarian is boring, I want to be something else. And then you've already spec'd into barbarian, and you're a barbarian. If you open up your skill sheet, it says barbarian at the top, and you have to start over. I don't like that. I like more natural progression. So you just play the game, you know, this was the most fun, so you start doing that more, and then you just naturally spec into an assassin or barbarian, depending on how you act in the game, not what you choose in the beginning. I think I'm getting deja vu. I think I've talked about this before as well. I am just running out of things to talk about. Man. I've been doing some origami. It started off as, you know, I wanted to make some flowers for my girlfriend, origami flowers. But it was, you know, simpler than I thought, and we had a lot of origami paper at home, so I just started folding flowers. It's fun. Or is it I just like the result? They're pretty flowers, paper flowers. I like it. I need to learn how to make a swan. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else to say today. So I'll see you in the next episode, probably. Hopefully. I love you. Bye.